What you are seeing here is a well-coordinated press by Fluminense. But the closer you look, you will realize that, hey, actually, this press is not just a press with a shape of any sort, but it's more of a man-to-man press where none of the passing lanes that go to the midfield are allowed. And once again, you go back to the beginning of the video, then you realize that what Fluminense didn't want were Sundowns players who are playing in midfield, in particular Allende and Tebogo Mokoena, to be on the ball at all. So whenever the ball went to Allende or to Mokoena, then they will be pressed immediately and they will be forced back. And this, in a way, was to also make sure that there was never a time for those Sundowns players to get on the ball. So they were blocking the passing lanes, but at the same time, they were ready to jump in and press them man for man. And that is why then Mamelodi Sundowns really struggled in the game against Fluminense, because as much as they were still Mamelodi Sundowns and they were still playing their football and knocking it around, the problem was knocking around to where? You understand me? So it was this whole thing of they had a lot of the ball, but not a lot of chances that they were created. And we are going to talk about those chances that they created. But what I also want to highlight is the fact that Miguel Cardoso got this one wrong. Completely wrong in this match. Because I think that there should be a limit as to how much the coach listens to the fans, or how much the coach, does things based on the recommendations or the complaints of the fans. Because if we're being honest, this guy, Themba Mshishi Zwane, one of the best, maybe top 5 best South African players to ever grace the sport. He's really good. Everyone can agree that Themba Zwane is certainly one of the best players in South African football. But he's been injured, right? He's been injured. He's been out for a long time. And the expectation was for him to play in the game against Pyramids. But the fans were complaining about that. They were not also complaining that he did not start a game. They were like, why was he not given minutes in both legs? You get me? Because you can give Themba Zwane the last 20 minutes of a game and they will change that game. And then bring him on again 20 minutes and then 30 minutes because he's coming back from an injury. But what we've seen with Themba Zwane in this Club World Cup is that he's still him, right? He's still him, and you can still see the abilities there, but he's not at his best because he's coming from an injury. And what confuses me is that you have Ule Tlako, right? Ule Tlako came on in the previous game against Dortmund, and he put some pressure, and that's how they got the turnover, and they ended up scoring a goal. Now, my question is, since clearly the tempo of Sundowns was so low and Mshishi was not getting on the ball, which is not his fault, by the way, don't get me wrong. It's not his fault that he was not getting on the ball that much, because they were making sure that the ball was not getting progressed and Mshishi were not getting the ball in the right positions. So my question then is, why not bring someone who's just going to bring energy? At least then that pace, that speed, that youthful exuberance that Ule Tlako is going to bring in. Why not bring him on, say, even in the 70th minute? You've tried the experiment with Themba Zwane. You are giving him an hour, 10 more minutes. But you don't play this kid who's clearly still high on confidence after what he did in the previous game, setting up Motiba for that goal. But another thing that I want to talk about is Neo Maema. So if you want to go for experience and want someone you can trust, and also have someone who can take a shot from long range, since Tebogo Mokoena had been taken off because of a yellow card, then why not bring on a 10 who still has enough experience, but on top of having enough experience, he's a capable player, right? He's not at the level of Mshishi, obviously. But if you are going to take off a player like Mshishi, especially after you've taken off Uribero as well, why not bring on Neo Maema? And that is, again, in 20 minutes before the game ended. Because if you are scared that Letlaku is going to be under too much pressure, then bring on Neo Maema. But it didn't seem like the coach had that in mind, because here's another thing. Uthapelo Mrena could have come on in that game. So remember when Cupido got injured, Usaila was trying to go forward, but it just wasn't working enough for him, because I don't know whether it's me, but I found that Usaila can go forward. He's good at doing that. But Umrena is much better at doing that. In the final third, Umrena is much better. That's why even Hugo Bruce plays with Tapelo Umrena as a striker, as a winger, and he's even played him as a striker, if I'm not mistaken. Even Sundowns themselves have played with Tapelo Umrena as a striker. So Cupido gets injured. Why not take Usela and play him as a centre back, which we have seen Sundowns do, and then just allow Mrena to be up on that right hand side and overload and move up and down, because he can do that. But on top of that, his pace coming off the bench, he's going to be a problem for anyone. But the coach once again decided not to play him. And by the way, this is not to say Sundowns were horrible in the game. It's just to say they could have been better. And this is the moment that I will say, if you're enjoying the video, please do make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. And if you're not new, you could just like the video so that more people will see this video. This is where we analyze football content, especially South African football content. And yeah, next up is him, Tashreeq Matthews. Matthews. Where do I start? Against Dortmund, he missed a very big chance. But let's talk about yesterday, because he got this chance and he missed. Now, you'd say, but these things happen below. Why are you being hard on a guy? And then I will rewind. 6 weeks ago, don't know whether it's 6 weeks or it's exactly 4 weeks, there was this against Pyramids. Now, my thing is, after that miss against Dortmund, I said Tashreeq Matthews is not that great at finishing, and that's problematic. Now he misses again in the first half. He misses that chance that we just talked about, not this one, this one. And this is a critical match. You're still keeping him. For me, I feel like the confidence of a player at that point, he knows I've just missed another chance. Why not take him off much earlier than how long it took for him to be taken off? You know, so I feel like the coach did not properly read the game and what it required. And because of that, Sundowns, who could have gone to the last 16, last 8 even, they are now out and they are back. And I am, people know this, I'm a Chiefs fan, but I wanted Sundowns to succeed. Why? Because it would have been good for our football to see a team from South Africa advancing that much. Because as an aspiring coach, you want people to see your country as a country serious about football, so that then doors for you people who are in football can be opened. But if we go there and we fail to read games like this, that just says all African teams have been knocked out, and that cannot be good for our football. So Sundowns did have a good tournament, but I believe they are much better than what they got. But what did you guys think? Do let me know down on the comment section below. If you have not subscribed, do make sure to do that and like the video. Bye bye. Check this video. YouTube thinks you'll like it. There. That's